Welcome to the 179th edition of Make Pro Wrestling Majestic again. I am Tiger Height.
I'm Peanut Gallery.
And I have not yet figured out who won for Vengeance Day. I will do that probably right after we record this. So, let's get into some drama. Not a lot, but a couple of things we all need to have a little chit-chat about. And really, it's about sort of reaping what you sow. When you make a bed, you have to lie in it. Well, let's talk about like this weird, unnecessary drama that came out of the first segment of Goddamn Raw, where Gunther attacked Jay. He had a jacket on. He chucked the jacket as hard as he could to Pat McAfee. McAfee instinctually ducked and freaking decked this poor kid right in the goddamn face. And people were trying to equate what happened there to the MJF incident. So there are a couple of things that are wrong with that. Number one, it was an accident. What MJF did with the kid, where spilling water on him, that was intentional.
Oh, yes.
Number two, people are like, well, why did Pat McAfee duck? Have you ever had something thrown at you? It's instinctual to get out of the way.
The guy played football.
Right. It's instinctual. It's hard to stop with instincts on that. So it was only like a big tizzy and a kitty for like a day, and then people realized, wow, that's really fucking stupid. Let's maybe not try to do this because we're that desperate.
Yeah.
But that's just what some wrestling fans do. They're just desperate on trying to find something wrong with WWE
I wasn't even aware that was an issue.
Yeah, it was such a non-issue. It was like overnight it was done. So it didn't really matter.
That's probably why it never entered the radar for me.
Exactly. I made a separate video on this, but I wanted to bring it up again because people are trying to bring it up again. I'm like, well, maybe we don't do that. Maybe let's actually like let this thing bury and die because it was an accident. Also, the kid in the camo. He's like, I can't remember. They brought him backstage after because he was hit really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
He was like 14 or 15.
Oh, okay.
And the kid who got splashed in the water by MJF was like 10. So there's a tiny bit of a difference there.
Yeah.
He shall not be named, I guess.
The former Ricky Starks.
He is making waves in the wrestling world, and he hasn't even done anything.
He just showed up. And there's not even a name attached.
He's gonna be Ricky Starks. You
think it's gonna be Ricky? You think he's gonna negotiate that he's gonna be Ricky Starks?
So Otis Griffin or whatever that name was that WWE trademarked.
Yeah,
one of those names is actually part of that new like Retribution Light faction. Okay. I don't know the rest of them, but that's sort of where that is. I think they're just doing it with Ricky Starks and are doing this intentionally to piss people off, and I think it's hilarious. He's going to be Ricky Starks. That's the name. He is absolute Ricky Starks. It would be weird for him to change his name, but why not Jordan Grace or Stephanie Vaquer or Julia?
Right.
It's like he was a bigger star from those three in American wrestling.
Yeah, that's true. They tend not to rename.
They're not doing that
big in America.
They're not really doing that anymore.
Like they got away with it with Zarya, but she wasn't really.
She never really got to that big stage. They got her early.
Yeah,
Zarya was very much a Australia sort of indie wrestler.
That would make sense.
So that's why they could get away with changing her name from Delta. I'm assuming they did that because there was some sort of copyright with Delta here in the States that
probably
just did not have necessarily an issue in Australia, rather. Australia is a mess, by the way. So back to my first sentence of you made your bed and you lay in it. This is only one of at least 3 examples of these weird AEW accounts wanting WWE fans to watch AEW and try to make some sort of justification for it, like, oh, your Twitter rep is intact. Nobody cares about your Twitter rep. Nobody should care about your Twitter rep.
It's not even called Twitter. It's called X.
Yeah, it's arbitrary. One, you morons are the ones who alienated anybody who likes WWE. Literally, anybody says anything positive about WWE, they are officially the enemy.
They're like blacklisted.
Yeah, you can't just turn your little dumbass around and say, no, we're okay. Come in and bring. No. The cult of AEW, it's not even the people who like AEW because it's a totally different thing, right? It's like Blood on the Dance Floor fans. It's the cult. It's the freakazoids.
We talked about this extensively last week.
Yeah, but this is sort of just one great example of you did this to yourself.
Yeah.
You lay your head on that bed, you're done. That's it. You've already made the impression of what AEW fosters if you put yourself in this situation.
That's true.
You get a bunch of fucking psychopaths. I am a wrestling fan. I watch all kinds of wrestling and like them for different reasons. And that is including AEW, despite me trashing it all the time. One, I do that because it gets good views. But number two, there are legitimate criticisms that have to be brought up. And if you morons ever listen to me about anything else, I put the same amount of criticism and I have the same amount of expectation with every other company to an extent. I'm not expecting a company like NWA to have the production value, the roster, or the money to run gigantic shows like WWE.
Right.
I scale it based on that qualification.
Yeah.
So with AEW, there's a lot of great talent. Their mid-card is solid. Their production, they do some neat things with it.
Mm-hmm.
But the fan base, how the wrestlers are online, and the fact that the fucking owner of the company is a spineless pussy who can't snort enough coke to save his life, those are legitimate criticisms.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly. But no, you just can't turn this around unless you legitimately show change. And then on the other side of the sentence, anybody who leaves the company is alienated. Anybody who leaves is a public enemy number one.
Yeah.
Every single one of these points have been patently, definitively, like retroactively to the fourth dimension proven false. You can't do anything because you're like, Daddy Dave said it, Uncle Dave said it, Brian Alvarez said it. Sean Ross Sapp said it. No. If the people who work in the company say that it's not true, it's the people who work in the fucking company. They say it's not true. I prove the people who work in the company, not a bunch of smart marks who sleep their way to the top, Sean Ross Sapp, who literally go on their reputation from the 80s where they were one of the only wrestling journalists, Dave Meltzer. This is the only one.
Mm-hmm.
So you trying to say that these people have insider knowledge, they have been proven false time after time after time after time again to ad nauseum. Mm-hmm. So this whole weird, they have an ego BS is done. It's over with. It's completely fallen off the bud. Yeah, well, they're gonna try to pull off some bullshit, I'm sure. Our comment section will most likely be the pool.
Yeah, that's not gonna be a fun I don't read the comments.
Oh,
that's gonna be a fun comment section.
It's fun. People will try their best to do this. So with Logan Paul just having a spectacular match on Raw, we need to nip this in the bud that Logan Paul is not a good wrestler. So here's what Logan Paul can do. He can cut a promo. He can get the crowd to react to him.
Yeah.
He can perform. He knows how to tell a story physically in the ring. He looks like a star. And here's the thing. This was a direct quote from him. Well, in one way or another. I don't have to be in WWE. Mm-hmm. I want to. Mm-hmm. I don't need the money. I'm already rich, but I want to be here. And every single thing that he said was absolutely factually correct. The dude is a multi-millionaire. Yeah. He literally doesn't have to do this.
No.
But he's doing it because he does like this.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't
he obviously has the athleticism to match.
He has the athleticism. He takes an enormous risk.
Yeah.
Competing in the ring at this level. You're not there if you suck.
Right.
Logan Paul,
you don't work for the WWE if you're a mediocre wrestler.
Unless it's like he was a celebrity that proved that he can do it. He signed a full-time contract.
Yeah.
He's not even the part-time wrestler that he was. He competed on Raw. Mm-hmm. He's gonna be in an Elimination Chamber match,
and that's not a fun match to be in.
A part-timer doesn't do that unless you're John Cena, but you're retiring.
Right, John Cena's retired, and he had a full-time career.
Yeah, exactly.
For many years.
Exactly. So once again, nip this in the butt. You can say what you want about Logan Paul in other avenues, in his business, in his videos, and all of his controversies. We're only looking at him in-ring work-wise, and I will say he is definitely where he needs to be. Yes. He is in WWE for a reason. He's not a fat guy eating cookies. He is legitimately a wrestler. I see him as a great competitor.
Yeah.
Now, could he be better? Yes.
Well,
but once again, he's coming into this right into WWE.
Right.
And the last thing I want to talk about is Grand Slam Australia.
I heard a lot of things about this show.
So Tony Khan was booed out of the building.
Yeah.
They're going to be returning in 2026 if the company still exists.
Are they returning to the same arena?
I don't know. They just said that they're returning to Australia in 2026.
If they still do exist.
If they survive, exactly.
Yeah.
The ring situation where somehow they managed to get the lights, all the production stuff. Mm-hmm. They managed to get the ramps. They managed to get the wrestlers, all the gear, everything else but the ring. How do you manage to do that?
I don't know. And then the ring that they got was from an indie promotion, and the ring was smaller than the AEW ring, so the curtain was...
It was droopy and it looked like shit, but really, it didn't really come into play to the performance-wise.
No.
I watched the show. I did a review on the show. The crowd, it was hot, but the thing is with Australia, they're going to cheer for everything. When a major wrestling promotion goes down under, goes to Australia, they're going to show out and they're going to be loud.
Of course.
So, because they just don't have something like this on this level. They haven't had it since WWA.
Right.
So, it's been a minute since they've actually had a very major promotion with a lot of money behind it.
Yeah.
Other than that, the wrestling was fine. Nothing to write home to mom about. It was a collision.
Yeah.
This was a collision show.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was going to be a pay-per-view. Trust me, it was going to be a pay-per-view.
They sold it like that, and people have verified.
They verified
on buying the tickets for the stadium show.
And when they moved venues, no refunds were given.
No.
The people who paid early for that stadium show, stadium pricing, which is premium, nope. How far away was the stadium to this arena? Was there was it like a substantial difference?
No, not really. I mean, maybe you're looking at less than 20 miles.
Oh, okay. I mean, if it was like, a couple of hours away.
No. But again, WWE had this same situation happen where they moved
here. It was here in Vegas.
Yeah, it was. But they refunded everybody when they changed venues.
Exactly. They did it right.
Yeah.
AEW did not. It's like, well, they got the show. Yeah, but we also got the show. We did get money in the bank.
Yeah.
It was here.
It was.
But they issued the refund for the people who paid the Allegiant Stadium premium, and they moved to MGM, which is actually substantially cheaper.
Right.
So,
people weren't screwed.
But with all of that being said, with all of the weirdness and the controversies and all of that, I liked the show.
It was fine.
It was fine. There were some cool production things. They were really leaning into the lasers, just like WWE. It's a cool effect. Okada's entrance was really cool on that end. And Toni Storm winning was the right choice because Mariah May's title reign has been so far a complete failure.
Well, she doesn't have a title anymore.
Right. So they're putting it back
Although they did have Mercedes Hogan retain.
Yes.
Or at least she booked herself
to retain. Let's just be honest. She was booed out of the building, by the way. Nobody liked her. I mean, it was not like heel heat. It is, you are literally the most toxic piece of shit heat.
Oh, yeah. She's very toxic.
It's insanity.
Yeah.
But that was the drama. A couple of things, not a whole lot, even though this was a longer segment. Peanut Gallery, we got some news. Let's get into it.
Yeah.